Well, hello and welcome once again to the Constitution Study, where we are returning the Constitution to its rightful owners, we the people. We do this through reading, through studying, through learning what the Constitution actually says, and then holding our elected officials accountable to uphold their oath of office. I'm glad you could join me here today. I have an interesting topic to cover today. We're going to talk about some issues with the First Amendment. But first, listen, if you are a first-time listener, if someone pointed you this way, well, I'm glad you're here. I hope you'll be back. I hope you'll find this extremely interesting and educational. That's really what this is all about, is helping Americans understand the Constitution and learn how to apply it in their daily lives. If you're a returning listener, well, again, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much. I'm working hard to make this a more engaged, a more widespread environment. I'm trying to engage in a few new things. Hopefully I'll have some announcements coming up soon. And it really takes loyal listeners, people who are willing to come back, learn a little bit more, study a little bit more. Most importantly, actually head over to the website, to constitutionstudy.com. Ask a question. I am so looking forward to people. I've had a couple of people ask me some questions. One is already on the podcast. One's I'm preparing for now. It helps me. One, it helps me understand where you are, what questions you have, and it gives me material, and it helps me to help you. If I'm not getting something across properly, or if there's a topic that I haven't covered, it helps me to understand what you're looking for and what you will find useful. Also, it tells me that you're listening. It tells you you're paying attention to what's going on. So again, I hope all of you head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. You can follow some more information. There will be a blog post related to this topic. You can also listen to the podcast there, or you can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. I'm considering adding a couple other distributors, so let me know if you think that would be interesting. You can always contact me through the website, constitutionstudy.com. You can also find me on Patreon, patreon.com/constitutionstudy. I'm trying to generate enough support. You know, I think this is important. This is something that is really important to me, and I'm willing to invest in it. And I'm looking for people who also find this important, who are also willing to invest time, invest work, invest money to help me do this, help me do it more. Right now, I'm putting out about one podcast a week and one blog post a week. And I'm trying to do more. I would love the opportunity to do more. And that's part of where the support through Patreon comes. You can also find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Constitution Study. I've also got a YouTube channel. So go to youtube.com, search for Constitution Study. These podcasts are released as simple videos with just a screen and what I'm talking about. I'd like to add more. It'd be nice if I could put some videos up, a little more interactive, where you could actually see me and be a little bit more interactive what's going on. Considering also going to Twitter and maybe some other places to get the word out. So if you have a comment on that, again, head to the website. You can always ask a question. You can also always go and contact me directly by going to the About Us section. You'll see a way to contact me, contact Paul, and get your information across. Again, I do this because I love it. I do this because I find it exciting. I love what I'm learning. I love to share it with you. And I'm looking to be able to do more of it because it makes me happy. And I think most of you will find it quite useful. So today's topic is actually, it's a little bit of a throwback. Those of you who've listened to the very first podcast episode, or I've gone to the Introducing the Constitution Study section of the website, will know that one of the big triggers for me to start the Constitution Study is actually something called the State of the First Amendment Survey. I believe it was a 2013-14 edition that actually got me started with the idea of the Constitution Study. Well, it's still going on. And recently, the Freedom Forum Institute's First Amendment Center released the 2018 edition of the survey. And if I can put it bluntly, people, the news is not good. It's just not good. In fact, I find it somewhere between disgusting, make me want to vomit, to I just want to laugh so I don't cry. It's ridiculous. It's really bad. And it's part of the reason why I do the Constitution study, because we don't know it. As a nation, we have no clue what is in our founding documents. And it's sad. And so let's take a look. One of the first things I noticed, it starts out with, and I'm going to quote from the report of the 2018 State of the First Amendment Survey, quote, "In other good news," I like that, good news. "In other good news, 3 out of 4 Americans, 77%, are supportive of the First Amendment and the freedoms it guarantees. Unfortunately, most Americans are generally unaware of what those freedoms are. More than 1/3 of the survey respondents, 40%, could not name a single freedom guaranteed by the First Amendment. And another third of the respondents, 36%, were only able to name one. Only one respondent of the 1,009 people surveyed was able to correctly name all 5 freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment. Many more respondents, 9%, thought that the First Amendment guaranteed the right to bear arms, a right that is actually guaranteed by the Second Amendment." So I don't know about you, but I find the good news in this questionable. Because, I mean, yes, it says most Americans, with 77%, are supportive of the First Amendment. But it appears that most of them haven't got a clue what it says. I'm sure many of you would think that this is a failure of our education system. And yes, I would agree, only if that education system includes ourselves, includes us. See, I'm not surprised that the government is teaching our children, is not teaching our children the limitations the Constitution puts on them. But it begs the question, why do we hand our children over to the government to be educated? Why don't we oversee our own children's education? Why don't we make sure our schools are teaching what is important and holding our school board members and other elected officials accountable if they don't? If our fellow citizens don't know what's in the Constitution, don't know what's in the First Amendment, then it's our fault for not making sure they were taught either in our schools or in our homes. I mean, think of it. 77% of the people say the Constitution is important, but 76% cannot name any or can name only one freedom in the First Amendment. I believe, I'm dumbfounded. I think it's this lack of education that leads to a lot of other results we found in the survey. At least I found in the survey. The fact that over half of Americans believe a person should be forced to create something, a violation of that person's right to free speech, even if doing so violates their beliefs, a violation of their freedom of religion. Over half of Americans believe you should be forced to make something against your will. 70% believe a person should have an invitation to speak at a college retracted if others may react violently. Not that they might react violently, if others may react violently. Now, if this is done by a public school, this is not only a violation of that person's free speech right, but also to the right of assembly of those who wish to hear them speak. Now, some of you may be saying the protesters have a right to assemble. Well, yeah, they do, if they do it peaceably. But the question was if people would react violently. In fact, half of those surveyed thought an invitation should be rescinded because the student body may protest. Oh my God. What has this nation come to? If half of the people in America have no clue what the concept of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, or freedom of assembly means. No wonder they keep going to the government to protect them. No wonder they keep looking for handouts. No wonder they go off and whine and cry and crawl into a room with teddy bears, crayons, and puppies. This infuriates me. How could this nation have fallen so far? Well, you know why? It's because we, the American people, have ignored our responsibility. We've asked other people. We've actually taken the education of our children, turned them over to experts, and then are surprised when what they're taught is not what we want, it's what the experts want. We're surprised when we hand them over to the government that the government doesn't say, you know what? Government can't do much. We hand them over to people who are being taught socialism being taught that capitalism is bad, socialism is good, and if you disagree with them, you're just a hateful, bigoted person. And then we're surprised when people favor socialism. And even those who don't say they favor socialism want the government to come in, want the government to tell you, no, you have to bake that cake, arrange those flowers, take those pictures. You have to do that for something you detest. Is that the land of the free, folks? Is it? And if we stand for it, are we really the home of the brave? I hate to really kind of burst your bubble, but this is bad news, folks. There is no good news in the State of the First Amendment survey. I know they say that, and I understand why, but there is no good news. Well, okay, not all the news is really that bad, but it shows just the general ignorance of the Constitution. And it shows why some of those widely held beliefs are actually antithetical to a constitutional republic. They're also destructive to our liberties. If we wish to remain free, if we wish to exercise our liberties, if we wish our rights protected, we have to learn to do it ourselves. We have to start learning what our freedoms are and how to protect them. We have to learn what we've been given in this Constitution and how it will help us maintain our freedoms. We need to read and study and understand our Constitution. We need to understand the freedoms it protects and the way it protects them. Only then will we be prepared to defend and assert those freedoms. Folks, look at the state of America and you'll see we don't even know what our freedoms are, much less be prepared to defend them. I look at the next generation and I'm sad. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed at how badly we have educated them, how badly we have treated them to have inherited such opportunity, a country built on limited government, liberties, opportunity, and watch that we've taken that whole mess and just kind of flushed it aside, and we're teaching our children how not to be Americans, that they should be socialists, that a constitutional republic is a joke. It's sad. I am literally witnessing a self-governing nation imploding on itself, and very few people seem to care. Yes, it was a survey about the state of the First Amendment that got me started with the Constitution study. But I'm sad to see that in the 3 or 4 years since I first encountered it, we have gotten no better. Not that I'm really surprised, but I'm hoping that you will care enough to help me change it, to help us educate ourselves and educate a nation about the liberties that they have inherited, about how they are protected, and what are the responsibility of us as members of this, as citizens of this nation, to help preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. What are those responsibilities? What will you do? Will you read? Will you go down to your school? This will be released early in September. Are you going to go down to your school for Constitution Day and make sure they're actually teaching about the Constitution? Will you volunteer? Will you offer to go and help? When your government does something unconstitutional, will you actually stand up? Will you contact your senators, your state representatives, your federal representatives, and inform them of the mistakes in their actions and help change our nation? Because if we keep going down this road, folks, I really only see two things happening. Either we are going to continue to slide into tyranny, into despotism, watch our freedoms be taken away, be given away more accurately, and we'll be ruled by an elite that will tell us what to do, when to do it, where to do it. Or we'll end up in a shooting war, fighting to regain the liberties we threw away. If we don't do something soon, If we don't go to the ballot box and start a revolution in the ballot box, our children will either live in tyranny or in war. And it's not a good idea. It's not something, it's not pleasant. It's not something uplifting. But if we don't begin to read and study and understand our Constitution and teach the rising generation to be free, that is what we are doing them to. I hope you'll take this to heart. I hope it has encouraged you, emboldened you to learn more about the Constitution. Head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. Find out more, find out what you can do, get educated, and come back and listen to me the next time on the Constitution Study.